Welcome, everybody, to Motivate You, the podcast designed around you, the financial advisor, entrepreneur, business owner extraordinaire.
A little bit of everything, all applies.
All in one place, melting pot of ideas.
It's like Florida where we are. We are the melting pot.
Kind of now. I mean, it used to be New York. Now New York's moving to Florida.
Yeah, we've had little New York for a while, but that's all right.
It's all changing. Good to have you all with us. Thanks so much for jumping in. Hoping 2021 is going well. Mm-hmm. We are almost at the end.
First quarter.
Can you believe it?
No. I was writing the date today and it just felt weird writing March still. Daylight savings is this weekend, which I'm excited about.
Is it really already?
It is. Yeah. I think it's Sunday. So the
spring forward.
Fall back, spring forward. Yes. So we get a little extra daytime in the evening. Does that make sense?
Do we lose sleep this weekend though?
Fall back, spring forward. So we move forward an hour.
So we lose sleep.
We do.
But I do like when it stays later, longer.
Saturday. I love it. Gosh, I love it. I just feel so much more productive. I get home. I want to be outside doing something.
Yep. Plus
here in Florida, right when you actually have that longer day, it turns into summer and you don't necessarily want to be outside. So it's nice to be able to do that in the evening, cool off a little bit.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. Plus in that way, you don't feel like work is demanding too much of your life. You actually have some sunlight after that you can spend some time with your family, do the fun things. Speaking of being busy, man, we just got back from Orlando. We were up there doing an event where we were talking about the 8 elements of financial control, the 4 C's, the different ways that Motivate can help different advisors. And man, what an incredible response.
Yeah, it was great.
That was insane. We had just triple digits numbers of people sign up. We actually had to turn people away. We sold out. But the people that came were great. But there are so many consistent things that we saw from the people that were there, besides the fact they were awesome and they were cool people, but business things, business issues that we see, mistakes, or maybe things that could be tweaked that could really take the normal business owner to that next level.
Yeah. And a lot of them were things, I don't know that if we necessarily take for granted or we've been doing them for a while. So they just kind of seem second nature to us, where we run into a lot of those individuals that maybe when we talk about this, that they were captive at some point and they decided to go on their own. And not only are they not captive now, but they are an entrepreneur. They are a business owner, and that's a completely different game. You can be an amazing financial advisor and not know diddly about being a business owner, and you're not going to have success unless you're able to marry those two.
Yeah. And finding out that there's some mistakes that you can overcome very easily, and some pretty simplistic things that go into it are very important. When you look at it from being a business owner, you got to realize that there's a bunch of C-level executives that normally you are everyone.
Right.
And so what I would recommend is we kind of dive through some different lists. I want to kind of go through a list of 10 mistakes that we see people making and discussing a little bit, because I've made these mistakes. So you've been with me for 7 years or so now, working with me. You lucky thing. You are so lucky to have.
If no one is watching the video, I made a very pleasant face.
Yeah, she feels very lucky. No, but you've been with me about 7 years, but I've been doing this and been down here in Florida now since 2006.
Yeah.
And I've made some of these mistakes, and what I'm trying to do, and what I think what the goal of the podcast today is to basically help people speed up that learning curve, not make those mistakes. And I think it's kind of important. So some of these we've already discussed in the past.
Yep.
But I'd like to go through them again if we can, as far as the 10 biggest mistakes that we see business owners make. What do you think number one is? If you were to take a guess, number one mistake business owners make.
I would say not knowing your numbers.
Actually, you nailed it. That's the first one on this list.
And that can mean a lot of different things, but I think, it breaks down. But yes, not necessarily knowing your numbers. What do you have to keep? What do you have to budget with? What do you have to pay? What do you have to pay yourself? There's so many that go into it.
Well, the numbers are they don't lie. So, one thing we've been talking about is that when you're a business owner, 2 + 2 will always equal 4. It always does. And there's no emotion in that, but that emotion from the numbers, what they show you, that can allow you to drive to make some different decisions. You have to know those numbers though, so that you can have clarity for your overall business and have it where you can make good business decisions, not just short-term, but also long-term. And I know in our business, with the fact that there's such a heavy emphasis on marketing, it's knowing those numbers as well. Not necessarily just your outflow cash wise, but what is the ROI? What is the, return on investment for each individual campaign, knowing that different campaigns have different things. And
Mhm.
I remember the first time that we showed this to a group of advisors when we showed one of our worksheets to talk about the numbers, they were shocked. None of them really knew it.
No, and the acquisition cost for that client. And then even knowing, does that high net worth individual have a higher acquisition cost or does it not? I think a lot of people go into business assuming something. And if they don't have the numbers, again, the numbers don't lie, you're kind of projecting on hope or a guess rather than actually tracking these, following them. And like you said, when you know that, you can help steer the ship and make good decisions off of it.
Well, and you need to know these numbers because it's going to, like you said, it's going to make you better,
Mhm.
but it also is going to be something that's different in particular for each individual. Like we have advisors that we work with in Texas and, Kansas and Florida and Minnesota, and they may all have different demographics or different things that work versus things
Yep,
that don't. And
of
so
course.
if you're going to run a business, if you're copying every other model, which is one of the problems, but just give a little heavy. If you're copying the wrong model for what your business is looking to do, you could run into some serious issues.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and I don't know if it breaks it down on the list. So when we say our numbers, obviously we discussed marketing costs.
Mhm.
What other numbers are imperative for a business owner to pay attention to track?
Well, that would go along with the second one.
God, I'm good at leading in.
Kinda. Yeah. That one you actually did pretty damn well. I'm not going to
Boom.
lie. What do you think is number 2? Since you're so good.
Oh, well, it has something to do with knowing your numbers,
Well, but
budgets,
also knowing how to invest in
the company,
the right
employees.
people. Yes. All right.
I'd get there
So,
eventually.
that's one thing that we look at. We see a lot of solopreneurs
Mhm.
that we affectionately call solopreneurs versus entrepreneurs, people that want to do this on their own, that have a really difficult time making that first step, right?
To hire someone.
It's a tough gig.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's not easy. You're putting a lot of trust into everybody, but you have to look at this as an investment, not a liability.
Mhm.
So one of the biggest mistakes I see people doing is they say, well, I can't afford that employee because they're a cost, rather than looking at them as an investment, as a value add to your business, not just to your personal life, but also to how your clients see you.
Right.
But if you look at it, you can actually break down what the return on that investment could be, and knowing that you have to have the right people in there, because if they do it right, you could see an incredible ROI
Mhm.
from having the right employee, right team member that's partnering with you.
Yeah. And one of my gals in Wisconsin, she's a solo entrepreneur and she just hired a virtual assistant. She's starting out part time. So I was doing a webinar with her yesterday and she's taking over a lot of her marketing. So she's using Automate, which is the CRM, that our advisors use that puts out those different automations and marketing campaigns. She's doing the phone calls, following up with the clients. She's doing her newsletters, all of these things that the advisor knows is necessary and was doing, but are completely out of her wheelhouse. And she's so excited because she said, I get to plan and meet with my clients and do the stuff that I need to do for my clients. And she still is doing this.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge cost, but we talked about how much is this going to cost you? Can afford it in your budget, but also how many clients does it take to make up for that? And it was one good annuity life insurance AUM client made up for that part-time employee. And then obviously if it works, she'll move her to full-time.
Well, and that's where, Sir Richard Branson said once, train people well enough so that they can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be able to empower these folks. And if you're lucky enough to get the right one the first time, because not all the time do we get that lucky.
Right.
But if you get that right one the first time, do whatever you can do to hold on to them. It's going to make everything much more efficient. It's going to make things more effective. Your client's going to feel more comfortable because you're in a stable environment.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really, really important things. Making sure that you invest in the right people is important. One other thing though is that includes you.
Yeah.
So if you're an advisor out there and you're trying to become the best of something, king of IRAs or the king of life insurance or the queen of long-term care or whatever you want to do, you want to be the creme de la creme. You want to be the top of it. You might want to invest in your own education.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to invest in taking time to become the actual authority in that area. So investing is not always just hiring other people. It can also make you and your business more effective because you put money back into yourself.
Mm-hmm. Investing your time wisely. That kind of falls into both of them.
Which comes into number 3. Most people are undercapitalizing their business, especially entrepreneurs. So what I mean by that is it takes money to make money. You've heard that expression before.
Of course.
So when it comes to a small business, that's oftentimes going to be true. and it's scary for people, right? So they do the wave. We talk about the wave marketing
all the time.
They underestimate, small business owners underestimate the amount of working capital that they're going to need to start their business, to operate their business for a period of time where things may take some time to what's the sales
sustain
cycle?
it.
And then what about expansion? How do you go about that? And really it comes down to, if I asked you this question, Mr. and Mrs. Advisor listening right now, what do you want your numbers to be in 5 years? Do you know those numbers? And if you don't, you got to sit down and talk about them, because that's how you expand your business. That's how you get there. That's how you look at it and say, okay, I'm going to work backwards, reverse engineer.
Yeah, know how you're going to get there. How do you get to these numbers? And obviously it goes in the conversation, what is that going to cost you?
Well, and that's when we talk about the 4 C's, this is what builds up your consistency as well. When you don't capitalize your business, when you don't have enough money set aside, okay? So if you make $10,000, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit, but if you make $10,000, how much of that is the business owners? Is it all 10 grand?
Not all of it. Hey guys, I know you already know this, but not all of it is your money. I hate to bust your bubble if you're putting it all in your pocket.
And I don't know if everyone knows that. No, for real. If you have a $10,000 commission, you need to realize that some of that $10,000 commission is owed to different things, right? Yes, you will get some of that. And yes, some of your fixed costs eventually don't have to be pulled off that first, and that the later, the third or fourth or fifth $10,000 check that you get that month. But there's certain things that need to be paid. And one of them is making sure that your business is running fully capitalized, has a good cash flow, and that you can keep your marketing going.
Right. Yeah. And we're talking outside of bills. Obviously, everybody knows that you need to set your money aside to pay your bills, pay your rent, pay your utilities, all that good stuff. We're talking about after that, you still need to pay other compartments. I remember people used to do the envelope budget. You get your paycheck and you put
the old school.
Yeah, you put whatever. So, I mean, it's still the exact same philosophy. You need to have your envelopes that are going back into the business, and you need to pay those envelopes.
And you need to make one special payment at least one time per year, and not several times per year, depending upon what type of situation you're in. And if you forget to pay them, this one does not forgive you.
No.
And that one is the dreaded IRS.
Yes.
One of the people that you need to pay. So I just mentioned, if you're going to get $10,000 check, realize that not all 10,000 is yours. Some of that $10,000 goes to the IRS. And if you don't, they're going to come after you. And I've seen this with advisors across the country more often than I ever want to. I mean, I've seen this nonstop, where people end up in a situation where they're behind in taxes because they built a lifestyle based upon that $10,000 fully being theirs,
right?
Rather than understand that of the $10,000 commission check, X number of dollars is theirs, X number of dollars goes to marketing and overhead expenses, and X number of dollars goes to the IRS.
Yeah. And it's a scary thing at the end of the year when you look at that tax bill and you haven't set aside the funds for that.
Yep. And
hopefully you have it, but otherwise you're scrambling. Where am I going to make this payment from?
And that's where people end up in trouble. That's where it gets difficult to even bring your business to the next level, because it can be difficult to get your securities license if you have tax liens. Right. It can be difficult to maintain your securities license if you get tax liens.
Even on the insurance side.
If it's something that needs to be disclosed, do your clients go online, look you up and see that you're not paying your taxes on time and feel comfortable giving you their $1 million? So these are all things that you don't forget about that. Keep that front of mind. That's the one person you cannot get out of. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I also see. Be where you are, not necessarily where you want to be. When it comes to your budget, be where you are, because oftentimes people mistake how long it's going to take to really make a profit from their business,
right?
A real life profit. Okay. So this is part of the reason why we talk about knowing your numbers, right? Is depending upon where you want to be in 2 and 3 years, it may be a situation where a larger percentage goes into the kitty
initially,
savings it, to build up a reserve, to build up all these different things. It may not be that you buy a Lamborghini your first year in the industry.
Bummer.
I know, I'm a total buzzkill. All right. I myself drove a very, we'll call it modest car.
Wasn't it oh wait, I'm blanking. I know what it was.
It was a
Prius.
It was a Toyota
Prius. Hey, they're economical.
Hey, I drove an hour each way to work every day, and I got 50 miles a gallon. Back off. But it was a very modest car. It wasn't a Lamborghini. It wasn't a Ferrari. It wasn't, and part of that was when clients asked me about it, I said, look, I'm a financial advisor. I believe in making sure that I have profit first. And I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm paying $4 a gallon for gas to drive an hour each
Mhm.
way
Plus a
to do
huge
that.
car payment if you really, four wheels get you to the same place.
Yeah. So it was a situation though where I allowed my business to develop into a profit center before I went out and did some of the things. And even now, I still don't have to go out and showboat and all these things. My life speaks for itself. So I'm not too worried about that.
Yep.
This one I'm going to let you talk a little bit about because you see this with me. And I think it's pretty standard practice for a lot of entrepreneurs,
What you got?
lack of patience.
Oh, so you turn that over to me. That was probably a smart thing.
Was it? Was
Well,
it?
considering who has more patience in this conversation.
Yeah, but I don't know what you're going to say. So a
Does it make you nervous?
little bit,
Oh,
but I'm not patient. Would you
no,
agree as a business
yes,
owner?
yeah, I would agree.
I'm just waiting for more to happen.
I'm gonna no, and I mean patience can mean so many different things. So a lot of times we think of patience just in an instant, not blurting something out, thinking about something. But you also have patience, and you kind of mentioned it, to help your business develop as well. Not everything is going to happen overnight, and if it doesn't, that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Sometimes it takes a little bit more planning. Sometimes it takes a little more work. And then there's this crazy thing in life that most everything never goes the way that you plan. I always kind of joke when I have a plan to myself, I feel that God sometimes looks at me and laughs.
There's that saying.
Is
Every
it
time you think you have a plan, God laughs.
God laughs? Well, that's probably where I got it from.
Yeah.
And this isn't a bad thing. It's not, God is angry with me or anything like that, knock on wood. But it's just, we have a plan. You have something in your brain, the way that you want it to go. And more than likely, it doesn't go perfect.
Sure.
And that's okay, because maybe we're in the long run better for it. And if not, do we learn something from it? So again, we can be better. So patience doesn't have to just be on a daily basis.
One of my old bosses used to always say, if it was easy, everybody would do it, right?
Sure.
And I think, that's part of one of the biggest mistakes and issues that we have in our industry. FMO, specific, financial advising, investment world specifically.
Yeah.
Is that you look around and all the other quote unquote competitors, I guess, of Motivate are going to go preaching about how you can turn these things around in a matter of a week, 2 weeks, whatever it's going to be. If you really want to run a business, it does take time. But then what's so cool about it is if you set it up properly and you have the patience and you set up the systems and you have all these things running, you're not going to be always scrambling for the next big thing.
Yeah. And you don't feel like you're leading from behind constantly either when something doesn't happen exactly how it's supposed to.
Right. Which comes in the next one, which I think is really important. And that's the lack of a team.
Mm-hmm.
Part of what has made our friendship great and part of what's made our organization strong is the fact that we can have these type of conversations. So I can come in, it's not uncommon for me to come in on a Monday morning with 600-700 different ideas of what we can do to take Motivate Advisors and your practices to the next level, what we can do to take my own personal practice to the next level, what we can do to make things better for everybody.
How we can redesign the office.
We can do everything. And it's usually pretty much every Monday morning I come in and I have the way to change the world. And then it's usually by about noon that Cassie has told me no a good 600 to 700 times. And we find maybe a couple good solutions in there that can really help us do the things we want to do. It's important to surround yourself with a team that's going to shoot straight with you. It's important to surround yourself with a team that has your best interest in mind, as long as, along with you, and sees eye to eye what you're looking to accomplish, but it's also realistic with the time frame it's going to take to get there, to do all these different things, and to really basically complement your maybe some of your
lackings. Or, I mean, everyone has strong suits. Everyone has, stuff that they're not so great at. So when you have a team that balances each other out, that's amazing.
Well, I think one thing that you do great for our advisors, and that I hope that Motivate in general would be, something that people would say, is we help them do that as well. I mean, we have advisors that call us all the time that say, hey, should I do this or should I do that? Or,
of course.
Hey, Cassie, I mean, we had a gentleman from Texas. Should I do a radio show? It's going to cost me $15,000 a month. And, and you're sitting back saying, okay, well, let's take a deep breath because he's ready to go. He's just waiting to sign the piece of paper that's getting the contract. And you're able to say, wait a minute, what's the audience like? What's the demographic? What's this? What's that? And so to surround yourself with people who have kind of been there
Yeah.
It's not their first rodeo. I've done radio, we're doing podcasts, we're doing, we do everything that we can possibly do as far as video. I mean, we do all these different things. So we know what's working, we know what's not, we know the mistakes that we've made. And hopefully by surrounding yourself with the right team, you're able to speed up that learning curve.
Yeah. And you also have to find people that fit your culture as well.
Mhm.
So they have to be on the same path. They have to believe in the journey that you're on, the goals of the company, and then share that culture that you want to. I mean, sometimes I always say, when we're hiring someone new, I can look at a resume and they can answer all my questions perfect. But the one thing I don't have a question or an answer for or a test for is their work ethic and their culture. Are they going to come in and have that same mindset? Do they want to grind? Are they going to work hard? Are they going to be excited when something is good, or do they clock in and clock out and that's the end of the day, which is fine if that's what you're looking for. So I guess know what you're looking for and make sure it fits your desires, your culture, your goals.
So I'm in the process of hiring right now for my own personal retail side. And one thing that I've realized over the last few weeks is how little I actually know about that portion of my business, and why it's so important to have a team like Motivate that can bring that next person in and train them to support me. So when I come back from spring break, boom, I'm back in the mix where everything's going well. We're excited. Life is working out really well. So when you're looking at the team aspect, there's a lot of different components that come from the team aspect. And the biggest one, I would say, accountability. So, you and I were talking over lunch today about one of our advisors who gave you a list of things that they're going to do starting in January. And now your last phone call was, okay, where are we at? Let's going to hold you accountable. It's because the truth is you have either results or excuses. You can't have both, right? You can either have results or excuses. So part of our job that we take very seriously is the accountability aspect, not to bust anyone's chops, but to truly help people be accountable and know what type of things that they can do to become the business they want to become.
Yeah, be better. Yeah. And when we talk about a team, it doesn't necessarily have to be just within your office. There's lots of teams that you can be involved with.
Well, Motivate's one of them.
Obviously, yeah, your FMO, your RA, are they a team behind you? Are they helping you? Is everyone driving to the same goal?
But have they done it too?
Yeah.
Have they been there? Have they done it? Are you working with someone who's actually been there and done it, or is currently still doing it? Or are they someone who's kind of talking with no real experience? And so that's a big important one. Poor cash flow management. I think we already discussed that pretty significantly. But man, you need poor cash flow management. We see it with wave marketing all the time, where people are making money and then they make the money and they pay off all their debt because they were in hole for the last 3 months, and then they put a little bit towards marketing, but the marketing takes 4 to 6 weeks to turn on.
Yeah, or if it doesn't work perfect that month either. Blah 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 blah.
Last but not least, working with a system that suits you, that you can utilize to take your business to the next place. If you look at, and I'll just use a factory for an example.
Okay.
To get expected results, you have to do expected things. You do not have a situation where if everyone keeps changing the process as you continue to go, that you're going to get the same looking result from that. Or
you're winging it each time too.
That's it. You have to have a system that works. If you are the type of person that can follow a system and that can run with it and do a great job with it, jump on something with us because we can help you with that. Maybe you don't want to design it, but you can follow it. There are others of you out there that say you can do that, but the ego can get in the way. One thing I'm going to tell you is all of us have to have some sort of ego, some sort of confidence to be in this business. I get it.
Yeah.
Totally understand, totally appreciate it. But I will never allow my ego to get in the way of me becoming more and more successful for myself, my company, my family, and my business family.
Yeah, to be better too.
Nothing's going to hold me back from that. You got to take that ego, set it aside, and say, look, you've done a good job. You've served me, as my friend Dave says, but it's time for you to take a back seat. It's time for me to grow my business. And if you can take those 10 things and look at that, and if any of those things hit between the eyes, it's important to look at and say, well, I need to fix that.
Yeah.
Now, do you attack all 10 one day?
No. And that's what I was going to say. I don't think, again, patience, some of them might take time, but these are not crazy things that are very hard to do. Implementing, having a process, having a system, finding the right people, all of those are tasks and they do take time, but break them down, find what are your top 3. We always like to start with top 3 things. Top 3 issues, top 3 marketing initiatives, whatever the case may be. So if any of these did ring a bell, pull your top 3 and start working on them. Once you have 1 and 2 dialed in, add another one on, then add another one on, because in a year from now, when all of these things have been completed, you're going to be in such a better place, a better mindset, hopefully better in your pocket too, which in turn makes you a better advisor for your clients and a better business owner.
On that note, good timing. Speaking of top three, though, what's the top three ways they can get a hold of you if they need some help with deciding what their top three is?
Sure. So you guys can always give me a call, 772-247-4488, and hit us up on our website, motivatedadvisors.com. Or you can email me, Cassie, Cassie, at motivate8advisors.com.
Or motivateinvestments.com as well.
Motivateinvestments.com.
Make sure you check it out.
Yeah.
But make sure you get in touch with us, folks. We'd love to be able to help you. There's so many great things that you're doing to help people. Make sure you go out there and actually start helping yourself as well.
That's important. We all need to love ourselves.
Wow.
Love.
Lots of love going on here at the end. All right, everybody. We'll be talking to you next week. As always, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be talking to you soon. Mike Terrio, Cassie out of Fair. We are out. Take care.
Have a wonderful week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.